Hello everyone, hope you're having an amazing day and an amazing week, and hope you have an amazing week ahead. I am Johan, your host for the session, and thank you for joining us today. So, before we get into the topic, if you ever want to get in touch with us, we can get in touch with us at 6364252164. And if you want to email us, you can definitely do that at info@febaonline.org. So, for today's topic, we are going to be talking about something that's not just something, tag about just youth. I think it's about, adults and grown ups in general itself, and that is drug addiction. And for a very important topic, we have a very important person with you here with us. We have Rev.Dr. Albert PJ, who is the founder and executive director at Abhayam. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here.
It's a joy. It's a joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, before getting into the topic itself, I would like to ask you, what's the reason you started a rehabilitation center for, people who are going through drug addiction? Because it's not a easy thing, right? It takes a long time for someone to completely get, recover. And so, what is the reason behind it?
Okay. So many years back, I was a drug addict myself,
Okay.
and I come from a good home, grew up in a good place, studied one of the top schools. Yet my life went into a mess,
No.
and cut the story short, I was thrown out of home because of my addiction. Got into a lot of police case, in and out of jail, and all of this, and so my dad couldn't handle this, so he threw me out. Went and lived with friends, and eventually I was on the street. And from there, my life changed. And my life changed overnight. It was just a moment that everything just happened so amazingly, and got my life back together. And from there, birthed a dream to help people that struggle with addictions. It didn't happen immediately, it took many years after that, but eventually we got to it, and that's why we do what we do. So the word Abhayam is a Sanskrit word, and it means freedom. So we are in the business of giving freedom to people who are in bondage.
Okay. Hmm. So, so how many years have you been
So we
in it?
started Abhayam in 2007,
Okay.
and so this is our 18th year.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, my first question to you about this would be, what is, when people struggle with addiction, it's very difficult for them to reach out, and it's totally understandable when the whole world is judging you, right? It's very hard to reach out to people. So, can you elaborate that more? Like, why is it so difficult for them to reach out?
Yeah, one is because of the stigma. They don't want to be associated as a person struggling with addiction. They
Yeah.
think it's very taboo. The second reason is because they think they are in control, that
Okay.
they can handle it. I'll be fine. So you would have heard statements like, "I'll be fine after college, man."
Hmm.
So that's one of the biggest lies, because one of the characteristics of any addiction is that there is a loss of control, and you completely lose your control. You don't know what you're doing, and it just gets worse and worse, and so you cannot be in control. But
Okay.
these are the two primary reasons that people don't want to come and get any kind of treatment and find or seek for help. Uh, with ladies, it's different. With girls, it's the whole the family kind of gets involved and says, let's just get them married. Maybe that'll solve the problem, or let's not talk about it outside. Again, it's the stigma that's attached with it, and yeah.
Okay. So, what is I mean, there's not one. There are multiple, misunderstandings people have about someone who's going through drug addiction.
Yes.
So, what is, something that you wish people could understand them better? One misunderstanding that you wish you can clear.
Okay. One of the most common misunderstanding is a drug addict is a violent person.
Okay.
Not always.
Yeah.
There are many times they are violent, but the majority of the times they're very quiet. They are lovely people. Over the last, I've been involved with working with addicts for more than 25 years, and over all these years, the people that I've worked with initially seem very rough and very arrogant, and over time they become the most loving people you have. So minus the addiction, they're beautiful people. And if you can see that in people and you begin to love people, not look at their problem, I think that itself solves a big amount the way you look at a person struggling with addiction and would be able to help them actually.
But I feel like there are more misunderstandings than that, right? Like it's like giving up. Like there is no, some people can't just, trying to help. They almost give up when they see someone in that.
Most of them do. In fact, a lot of people don't want to do anything with them
Yeah,
because they think we're not equipped to handle it.
yeah.
This is beyond us. So I'd like to tell you that even a child will be able to help somebody who's struggling with addictions
Yeah.
if you can show a bit of love to them.
Yeah. So that leads to my next question. So when situations like this happen where someone, is brave enough to open about the addiction to someone, but it gets very overwhelming sometimes to people, right? So and they don't know how to, respond at that moment, or sometimes they go the complete opposite. They can tell something that might hurt them. So when these moments come where, people approach to them, so what are the, how can they handle the situation, when someone comes and, openly tells about the problems they're facing?
Okay, one of the first things that you need to be cautious of is if the person is still high on the substance. If you notice that that's the case, be very careful. And I would always recommend to have another person with you when you are trying to deal with somebody who's struggling with an addiction.
Okay.
Okay. But let's say a scenario where you are all alone, this person opens up with you and you begins to talk. Primarily listen to them. Don't give any suggestions, don't talk to them. Be available, give them all the attention. Let the person know that you're fully interested in what is happening with the person, and um, try and get professional help immediately for the person, because a moment that he's seeking help is a rare moment. It doesn't come all the time.
Yeah.
And when it comes, make the most of it. Get professional help and connect the person to somebody who can help him.
Okay. So, before ending the session, is there any final thoughts, that you want to share to people?
Yes, there are a lot of other good things that you can do. In fact, uh, all of us are born as addictive people. Now, it sounds like it's a negative thing, but look at the positive side of it. Now, you can be addicted to football. Now, I love football. I play football. Just that recently I've stopped playing because I've had a surgery. But I used to play till I was 52 years professionally. And so there's a lot of other things you can do. I'm a biker. I used to travel on a lot of adventures. I am into art and creativity. My kids have found music as one of the forms, and art, and so there's various things that you can do to kind of take care of your addictive behavior. And every person is born with an addictive behavior. When you don't do the right things, you automatically land up with the wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when substances and other things that are not right that come into your life and take over your life, and then you lose your control over what you're supposed to be in.
Okay.
For those of us who have never been into any kind of addiction, and you're looking at all of this and you're being pushed into it, you probably have peer pressure from your friends, you've been contemplating on maybe trying it out and curious and all of that. Let me tell you this: don't start, because it's not worth it. As somebody who's done it, somebody who's been there, I almost lost my life experimenting with it. So please don't even start it. You're much, much more cooler, much, much more smarter by not doing it.
Amazing. So, thank you so much for ending that with a positive note.
Thank you.
So, I hope this reaches out to people and educates them and makes them understand about people who are going through addiction a lot better, and and you're given some valuable points, and hope they take up those points and and learn more. So that's it. So if you ever want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us at 6364 2521 and 64. And if you want to email with us, you can definitely do that at info@febaonline.org. This is Johan signing off. Thank you so much.
So today I would like to tell you about what I do and why I do what I do. Well, let me begin with when I was a child. Now, before I was born, my parents had a son. I have a brother. And when my mother was expecting me, my parents wanted a girl, especially my dad. And I was born. Now, I wouldn't have had a problem with that, but when my dad told me this when I was very small, he said, "You know what? We didn't want you." And so as a child, I grew up feeling I'm not wanted. I don't belong. I'm not accepted. And so throughout my childhood, I excelled in everything that I did just so that I would please my dad. I was very good at studies. I was a distinction student throughout. I excelled in quiz, elocution, music, sports, to the extent I used to run for the state at one time. All this with the intention to please my dad. And as I got into high school, I went for a state level event and came back with a cup. And my dad looked at me and said, "Huh, your school has gone so bad that you should get the cup." It completely shattered me. And so from there began another phase in my life where I started to take revenge on my dad. I started to do things to irritate him. Now, my dad was an army officer, and we grew up with army discipline at home. And one of the first things that I did was I grew my hair. I started to do things to really irritate and hurt him. And I became really wild, and my friends would pose challenges to me, and they would, make me do things that are crazy. So one of the things that they did with me was when I was in my 9th grade was if I could go sleep in the cemetery one night. I did, because all throughout I'm still seeking for acceptance and belonging, even from my friends. But nothing happened after that. A little later, another challenge came, and the challenge was this: if I could smoke a cigarette in class when the teacher is there. I did it. The whole class knew what was happening. The teacher, poor teacher, she had no clue. But the whole class knew that Albert was sitting at the last bench and smoking. I finished that, and right after the class, my friends came. They lifted me up and they said, "Albert, you're the man. You're our leader." And I thought I found acceptance. I thought I found a place to belong. And I thought it's the cigarette that gave me the acceptance. Now, soon I graduated, not in studies. I graduated from smoking to alcohol, alcohol to drugs, and even before I knew it, I was what we call a mainline drug addict, which means I would inject drugs. My life just became horrible. Meanwhile, I had to write my 10th standard exam. I went and wrote to fail, but somehow passed with a third class, again to irritate my dad. Then I was put into a college, and I've only seen the first day of the college. By then, my life was quite a mess. And in the mess, I got caught with the police many times, in and out of jail a couple of times. In all of this, my dad couldn't handle it, so he threw me out of home. I left home, went and lived with friends. Soon, I ran out of friends. Eventually, I was on the street. About 3.5 months of my life, I've lived on the street. And while I was on the street, one day, I saw this friend of mine who used to copy from me in school. He was coming towards me, and I thought I'd going to get something from him. But he saw me, and he turned and walked away. And that's when I asked this question, "Hey, what happened to me? Why am I like this?" And suddenly, something that I'd learned as a child came back to me. Now, for us who come from Christian homes, we have something called a Sunday school, where our parents go to church and we are left to study about stories from the Bible. So, being part of the Sunday school as a child was something that came back at this moment when I was on the street, and I suddenly asked myself, what happened to me? A song that I'd learned came back, and the song was this: "Jesus loves me, this I know." So I prayed my very first prayer, and I said, "God, do you really love me? I mean, look at this guy, he just walked off. Look at my family, they don't want me. Do you really love me?" And God gave me such a peace in my heart with which I knew that He does love me. I prayed my second prayer and I said, "God, get me out of this mess." And then I remember walking out of the park that I slept that night, made a bonfire of all that I had in my pocket. And as I walked towards my home, my mom was waiting at the door like she knew I was going to come back. And I knew that God had touched me that day for various reasons. Firstly, I didn't go through any withdrawals. Now, being a multiple drug addict, being a mainliner, I should have had severe withdrawals. I didn't have any. I remembered that God had touched me. My family came back together. I knew that God had touched me. I went back to college, passed out as the best student of the college that I went to. Today, I have degrees from places I can't believe. I have a degree from Singapore, I have an MBA from Switzerland, and I'm involved in various things that sometimes I wonder how is it even possible. But from there birthed a dream, and this dream is today called Abhayam. Now, the word Abhayam in Sanskrit means freedom. And we want to give freedom to those who are into addictions, all kinds of addictions. So we have two homes. We have a home for men and a home for women in Bangalore at the moment. And we welcome anybody that is willing to come and be with us. And we see changes that happen from a life that has been destroyed to a life that is worth and being blessing to many others. And so from there, in our home now, we teach them skills. We teach them catering, carpentry. We teach them masonry. We teach them various life skills. We teach them music. And we have football that's compulsory. Everybody plays. It's a very homely kind of a place. And all this birthed out of what happened in my life. The moment I decided that this useless life is going to be useful in the hands of God, God decided to take it and use it to be a blessing to many people. Today I'm married, never thought I would. Two wonderful children. My wife Lali is also with the work that I do. She heads the women's home, and we look forward to helping many more people struggling with addictions. My contact details are here. Do get in touch and let me know how we can help you, we can connect with you, and make the world a beautiful place.